Hey everybody, it's RBB. Long time no see. If you're new, welcome. If you're returning, you haven't seen me in a while. As the school year goes on, and I figure what I wind up telling my students over and over and over again, I'm like, you know what, I need to make a list of this and come back and make some more videos. So I might take a little break away from the Photoshop and After Effects tutorials and do some basic Maya. I have a couple of them, but I want to have kind of a basic set of videos that my students and anybody who's learning Maya can come to for, some best practices and things like that. Um, all right. I do want to have a little bit of a disclaimer that if you're trying to learn Maya for the first time, you don't want to come to me and you don't want to come to like really probably almost any other sort of YouTube person out there. If you want to learn a software, go to, a software that has or an app, a program, whatever, a website that has actual tutors, real vetted professional tutors like LinkedIn Learning. My students have access to LinkedIn Learning and it's great. But if not, there's, Pluralsight and Udemy and, lots of other sites. Now, usually they're subscription and you have to pay for them. But it's worth it because you're going to get the latest up-to-date vetted information, not some punk ass 12-year-old, sitting in front of his laptop telling you how to do After Effects. The problem with that is fine. I may learn some cool editing technique. I may learn how to make a glitch effect. I might, and that's great. I absolutely go to YouTube for like, man, how do I dissolve this and do this cool trick? But if I'm learning a software, I don't want to learn from somebody who's showing me shortcuts and the way they do it. Like, you might be told the right way is to blah, 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 but I never do that. I want to learn the right way, and then I can make my own choices once I know what I'm doing. So anyway, I want to show you what LinkedIn Learning looks like. And I mean, it's not, what do we call it? I'm not sponsored or anything. It's just the one we use. So when you come to LinkedIn Learning, and when it starts out, you'll answer a million questions, like, well, how are you going to use this? What do you do? What's your role? All kinds of stuff like that. And that's a little tedious, but once you answer those questions, if you're like, I'm a student, I'm a creative person, I blah, blah, blah. Then there's a search bar, and you can search for any subject, if I want to learn C++ coding, RenderMan, if I want to learn I haven't found a program yet that it won't tell me. And so I put in Maya Basics, and this is where I always send my students to. When Maya Basics, when you go here, if you first look for Maya Basics, I just said rendering.
Rendering is the calculation.
But if I just said Maya Basics, Maya Basic, one of the first things that pops up is, or at least for me, because I use this guy all the time, is this Maya 2026 Essential Training. Or if you look back, there'll be 2024, 2018, which of course is long gone. But this Maya 2026 Essential Training by George Maestri. And I love this dude. Like, he just has this soothing voice. He's easy to follow. And if you look, this tutorial is 5 hours and 4 minutes. So if you're like, dude, I ain't got that kind of time. Well, nobody does, right? He's gonna start off.
Animation.
But if you look over here on the left-hand side, you'll see that the tutorial is broken up into chunks. So the Maya interface, overview of the Maya interface, 4 minutes and 20 seconds. So if you're brand new and you're like, dude, I've never even opened Maya, then watch this for 4 minutes and 20 seconds and take a break, right? 2, 3 times a day, come back and watch one of these. So you can choose which ones you want and hop around if you want to follow along with him and use the exercise files. I mean, by the time you get through this 5 hours, you're going to know this program pretty well, at least the basics. There's things you can totally skip, like we tend to work in polygonal models, right? We use polygons. We tend to not use NURBS curves and things. So my students would generally just skip this whole number 7. Creating materials. If you're going to create materials in Maya, great. If you're creating materials somewhere else, well, then skip that. Applying materials. So you just pick what you need to see, working with external data, blah, blah, blah. It's great. And he has this cool voice. I think you should be able to hear this.
You can create what are called animation cycles, and this allows you to do just one set of keys, and then Maya will
I just kind of like his voice. I just sort of sound like it's like he's reading me an audio book or something. But okay, so that's LinkedIn Learning. You can look at Udemy or Pluralsight or whatever it's called now, Digital Tutors. I think it's Pluralsight now. But yeah, So that's what we're going to do is we're going to start a new series about Maya. And all I'm going to do today is I think cover really quickly the basic interface and call it good. And then we're going to just basically start a series from here. So this is Maya 2026. Maya 2025 is very similar. When you open up a new version of Maya, it will tell you when something is new. And there's not anything new up here. And you're like, well, how do you know? Look at all this. It's like you're launching a space shuttle. Well, how do you know something's new? Because if you look down here in the bottom right-hand corner, this thing is new. So this, if I click on it, it's a cut slider. Okay, so more about editing pieces, I guess. It's not really a lot of editing that goes on in Maya, but they've included this. And you can tell it's new because it's got these bright green brackets on it. So some years you'll open up Maya 2022, 2024, whatever, and it'll just be covered in green brackets, new tools, new things, new windows, new all kinds of stuff. But here in 2026, it looks like not a lot is new. There'll be whole new menus, but I don't see very many green things other than this little guy down here. So there's probably not a whole lot different. So should you just stick with 2025? You can if you want to and wait till 2027 comes out, whatever. Okay. So real quickly, just going over this kind of, as I said, just a quick overview, I'm not going to do anything, is looking at the user interface. Now, I try to tell people to be software agnostic. So if you are learning Maya and all you're going to learn is Maya and you are going to be dedicated to Maya and you're going to die on that hill and, forget everybody else, forget Unreal, forget Blender, all that kind of stuff, that you're learning wrong. I would rather you learn the concepts and then pick the tool that's right for the job you're doing. And it might be Blender, it might be Unreal, it might be Cinema 4D. But if you're going to use Maya, and we're just basing here, the skills that you're learning are transferable. You just got to figure out, how does this other software do it? If Maya does it by Alt left click, how does Houdini do it? Right? Okay. So across the top here, like with every program you've probably ever worked on, you'll see your menus and file and edit, just like every other menu, every other program. And you bet that if you went to file, you'd find new stuff, right? This is where we open things, this is where we save things. Often there's some project information. In edit, like a lot of the kind of stuff that you'd find in file and edit is going to be there. Now from create all the way over to Arnold, these are menus that are specific to Maya. And you'll see that not only are there a bunch of them, but each one of these has more menus within it. Before you get intimidated, please know that Maya is like a giant corporation and there are lots of divisions. So if you do modeling, and surface modeling and things like that, hard surface modeling, you're not going to touch 70% of what Maya can do. If you're a hair and cloth simulations person, you're not going to touch another 70%. Like most people are in some sort of niche and never touch this other stuff. I've been using Maya since 2011, and there's some of this stuff I have no idea what it does. Like I have no idea what Bifrost does. I don't care because it's not in my world, and I could learn it. And I do recommend that when you're comfy enough, you test these things out because there will be a video soon on MASH. And oh my God, if you've been using Maya for a while and you don't know MASH, I didn't either. It's like the best kept secret in the whole world. So we'll have a video on MASH soon. All right, there you go. So all of these are menus for, using Maya. Okay. And then here we have more tabs, and these tabs are sort of like, what subject are you working on? So if I'm animating, these are the tools I'm most likely to be using, right? If I'm working in MASH, these are the tools I might be using. If I'm poly modeling, which is where we're going to be spending most of our time, these are the tools I'm going to be using. Okay. So I don't care about most of these things. XGen, I don't even know what that is. I think it's particles. I have no idea. I don't know, and I don't care. I'm going to go back to poly modeling. Surfaces, NURBS, okay? Sculpting. I wouldn't sculpt in here. I would use ZBrush. UV editing, rigging, animation, rendering. Okay. All right. So back to poly modeling. Now, this is for those of you who, like me, are very right-brained, and I'm like, I want a cube. Where's a picture of a cube? There's a cube. Boop, there's a cube. There's the pictures, right? Very simple. This is center pivot. This one that looks like it's frozen with an ice thingy snowflake. It's freeze transformations, right? So these are like pictographs for all the tools. Maya looks really complicated because everything is out on the desk at the same time. So a tool that's up here, okay, like extrude, that's the extrude tool. Well, the extrude tool is also right here. Okay, it's over on this side. And um, you know, booleans and things like that. Bevels right there, bevels also right here. So a lot of things are out in more than one place. So it's like, oh wait, and this whole menu, don't worry about it. You probably either work this way or you work this way. You may even see some old school people, old folks like me, that tend to work the way that we were taught, and things have changed. Like if I wanted to do something to this cube, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I would hold right click and I would pick one of these tools. Okay. But now you don't have to do that. Now it's all right here in this handy dandy menu and it's all right here. But old school people before the modeling toolkit existed did it like this. So if you're watching a video and somebody does something like that, that's not right or wrong, it's the way they do it. Okay. So these are all the pictographs of tools and activities that you're most likely to use in polymodeling. Okay, at the top of this is my view screen. At the top of my view screen, I see view, shading, lighting, show, renderer, and panels. Okay, this is my panel. Right now I'm looking at it in a one screen panel. I can look at it. Look, you've got some choices over here. I can split my screen and I can look at it in perspective and I can look at it from the front. I can also look at it in four views. Okay, and all of these different things you might use at different times. But if this pops up and you're like, what the heck? Like just settle down and kind of like get used to how this works. And then you'll see it'll become second nature to you in a matter of hours. Okay. So to get back to this main screen right here, I can either say main screen like that, or I could have hit the space bar again, a million different ways. Over here on the left-hand side where we usually see our tools, like our brushes and erasers and things like that, we have a select tool, a lasso tool, a painting tool, a move, a rotate, and a scale tool. But no one goes over here to do these, right? There's no reason like, oh, I need to move this cube. I'm going to go over here to move. Like you only have so many clicks and then you die. No one is going to do that. These are all brought up with hotkeys or with these other, well, just hotkeys. Like I can't imagine doing it any other way. Well, later on, we'll get into more of what these are, but it's basically what do you want to see? How do you want to see it? How do you want it lit? What do you want to show? Okay, for our models that are going on here. On the right-hand side, we have three, usually by default, we have three main channels. We have channels, tabs over here. We have a channel box and layer editor. Okay, which is going to have a lot of information about our scene. There's a thing called the attribute editor, which you're going to use all the time, which is all the attributes of whatever thing is in your scene that you've selected. And there's all kinds of information. And then there's the modeling toolkit, which showed up probably 10 years ago now, but it still seems brand new to me. Maybe not 10 years, maybe 5. Anyway, 6 years. I don't know. The modeling toolkit basically puts all of this stuff and all the hotkeys and all the things that I ran around doing a different way right here into one handy dandy toolkit. So lucky you. Yeah, that's great. And of course, you can customize all these things, which we're not going to do today. Down here at the bottom, we've got our timeline. Now, it's not exactly a timeline because it's not time, it's frames. So when you're animating, you're aware of whatever, if you're not animating, if it's just a still object, we don't care. All right. We don't care about frames per second. But if I am animating something and I need something to move in Maya or hair to flow or water or particles or whatever it is I'm doing that's going to move, I would be aware of my project's FPS or frames per second if I'm working in 24 frames per second or 30 or 60 or 120, whatever frames per second my project is assigned. I would want to make sure that I was paying attention to that. And if I needed something to move in 1 second, if I'm in 24 frames per second, then it's going to happen in 24 frames. If I'm working in 30 frames per second, that thing needs to move in 30 frames. So these are frames, but essentially it's a timeline. Okay, so that is super duper the brief overview of what the work surface looks like. And, just take a look at it, click around. You're going to totally mess it up. That's fine. You're going to like hit something and be like, what did I do? Don't worry about it. We're gonna have some more basics. I just kind of wanted to show you the overview of the workspace. And I will repeat myself a million times when we actually start working on some projects. But if you want to follow along with this, this is basically Maya video point 0.5 because one will actually be more of beginning. All right, you guys. Glad you're back. Glad I'm back. See you soon. Bye bye.